Okay, this is a fairly quick review of the car I've just rented for the last 4 or 5 days. Now this is a 2022 Camaro. What engine's it got in it, you might ask? Well, since this is the base model from the hire car company, it's a 2 litre 4-cylinder, but that's still got 275 horsepower, so it's not too bad. Now, this car looks amazing, and that, I think, is part of its problem, because there's no real difference in the looks from the V6 and the V8. There's a slight difference in the 4-cylinder. You think this is going to be some fire-breathing monster because it looks so great. It's not bad to drive, but it's definitely not. It's not the V8. And the other question is this: inside it, this car's done 4,000 miles. I mean, okay, they're hire car miles, so that's pretty tough, but it's not really wearing that well. Seats are comfy, it's pretty supportive, handles really well. And here's where the problems start to begin. So the first thing is, this is the worst set of plastics I've ever seen in a car. This makes a Lada look like a Rolls Royce. It's like sitting inside a wheelie bin. And that's the big problem. Look at the gauges, it's just too cheap. I mean, it's the feel of it more than anything else. This does not feel like an expensive sports car. In fact, I know it is a budget sports car, but it doesn't feel like even the quality of a Toyota even. This is just terrible. Look at it. It's like they just jammed it in there. There's dials and buttons everywhere, and at night this thing lights up like a Christmas tree. This steering wheel totally looks like it belongs on a 1986 video game Outrun. It doesn't feel nice. Like, the stitching's terrible. It's flat at the bottom, which is just pointless in a car like this. The seats are comfy and supportive, which is good, but they don't recline all the way back. Another weird thing. But my other real big gripe is, can you sort of see out the back window? It's really difficult to show you this, but you can't actually really see out of it. In this car, you basically get the same kind of vision you would get if you were wearing a balaclava sat inside a mailbox. And that is a massive problem when you drive it. Every pillar's big, the roof is really low, and the windows are really small. And when you're in it, I mean, you can actually see how high it is. I mean, it's probably good for crash protection, but really, come on. The other weird thing about this car is the aircon system. Now, I've driven a lot of cars with a lot of different quirks, but I would never, in my right mind, believe that this turns it up and down on the temperature, and this is the up and down on the fan by moving the vent. I mean, that's pretty weird. The navigation system's not super easy to use either. And I mean, you've got to bear in mind that the kind of people buying this car are going to use it as a daily driver. So, and here's the other big problem. There's no room in the back. I'm not massively tall. You can't fit anything in there. You can just about put a credit card in between me and the rear seat. That is the boot. The opening is tiny, and it's just almost like a joke. It's just kind of mildly disappointing the whole way through. I have to say, I'll show you this because I think it actually looks pretty cool. I was really shocked when I looked at it here, actually. Turbo 4 motor looks pretty cool. I don't know where they sourced it from. It must be a Chevy built engine. And it performs really well. The gearbox is great. The paddle shift and everything is fantastic. And the other problem, when you drive it, it drives great. It handles really well, corners really well. The suspension is mega stiff, which is a problem. Like, really stiff. You feel every single bump. And that's really it. It's America. The roads aren't great. This is super bumpy. You feel every single, you run over a coin, you can tell which side up it is. And that just doesn't work out here. This is a rental, so it might have had a harder life, so I can't say if all of them are like this. But the other thing is it requires a lot of attention to keep us straight on the road. it just weaves. You're always putting an input in the steering wheel. You're not just cruising along having a good time. It's like the power, like the steering is so direct that it has a constant weave in it. And it's really hard to get rid of it. Now, if this was like nothing, just a standard, boring, everyday, whatever car, that's great. But honestly, because it looks so great and you think you're going to drive something special, it's basically like going to bed with a supermodel and finding out she has a rather large penis. It's kind of, it might be okay, but it's not what you really wanted. And that's, I think, the fundamental problem with this car. It looks like a supercar, but it drives like a Toyota Camry, but not as good as a Toyota Camry. Chevy, pick your game up. This isn't great. But anyway, so more top tips from me is, if you're going to rent one of these, I would rent the better version for a start, maybe the V6 or the V8. Aircon's really good. Black is a terrible colour for it to be in the desert, I can tell you that for sure. But honestly, it's just not good enough. Really, people need to raise the game on this. It's just a little sad. So, the next one will probably be electric anyway, and that won't really make any difference, so thanks. More top tips coming up soon. Next time I'll rent something different and we'll see what I think of that. Cheers, guys.